to the Ad Lib Podcast. Today is episode number 80, and it's been a while, Joe. I can't believe we've made it to 80, 20 more to go to 100. It's been like, how long has it been now?
I think we started this in, was it December or January? And I think it was maybe January 2023.
Damn, that's a long time. We barely skipped any weeks, to be fair. I think we skipped like 2-3 weeks in total.
Yeah,
so far
been pretty good. But episode 100 will have our Empty Man watch along, so it's gonna be a long episode.
Oh no! Oh no! I've watched some very long movies this week. Now we'll get into it a little later on. But how's it going, Joe? Overall, how's your week been?
Yeah, I've been okay. I've been slightly under the weather, like on the verge of getting like a bad cold, but not getting it completely, which is good because I hate getting sick. I've managed to keep it at bay. But no, otherwise pretty good. I got to watch Longlegs at the weekend. In terms of television, I haven't really watched anything. I did watch last night, just because I have it on Blu-ray and I hadn't seen the film. It's sitting on my shelf for a while, and I felt like something like in the horror kind of like genre. I watched Thirst of Park Chan-wook.
Okay, nice.
His vampire, I guess, drama romance. Very good film.
On Blu-ray.
On Blu-ray, yes. It made me. I've always had a thing for like I think waterbeds are ridiculous, and I hate them whenever I've been on a waterbed, and I hate them more now after watching Thirst. And people that have seen Thirst will know why.
Okay. But waterbeds reminds me of what was the 2021 movie, which had a lot of waterbeds. Licorice Pizza. Yes, Licorice Pizza. Yeah.
They always remind me of Edward Scissorhands, because I remember there was a scene where he pops a waterbed. That's kind of like the only scene ingrained in my mind for Edward Scissorhands, which is really strange, but yeah.
Lalo, me. That's one of those. There are so many movies where I'm like, I watched that when I was 16, 15, 14, and I have no memory of it. Like, I mean, I know I watched it, but that's it, right?
For me, when I was that age, because like I'm not as old as you and Franco are, I'm still a young spring chicken. I can remember films when I was like a teenager. I'm talking about like when I was like 5 or 6 kind of thing.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, like the Disney animated movies, the fact that I didn't watch them once, I watched them like 4, 5, 6 times when I was a kid. So those I remember more or less. I can remember those. But the ones I watched just once, for example, like I know we had watched, for example, Bicycle Thieves at school. And I'm like, yeah, I watched it, but if you had to ask me anything about it, I remember nothing. Literally nothing about it. Killing of a Sacred Deer, I watched with my friends like 6, 7, 8 years ago. How long was that when it came out?
Something
but I'm
like that,
I remember nothing about it. Like,
that's
no
weird.
Memory.
I had a bad one recently where there was the Netflix series One Day, which came out a couple of months back, and it was really big. And I didn't watch it when it first came out. I watched it a couple of weeks ago. But I remember I must have been like 12 or 13 when there was the book and there was the film starring Anne Hathaway and Jim Sturgis. I remember my sister read the book and thought it was really good. And I was at the age of like, if my siblings think something is really good, it must be really good. So I tried reading it when I was far too young to get this book, and thought the book was kind of crap, and I thought the movie was kind of crap as well. And I basically forgot everything that happened. And then I watched a TV show, and it ruined my fucking life for like a solid week. It like, and I say that in like, it's really fucking good. It's really good. Like it's actually surprising how good it is, but those final 3 episodes absolutely ruined my life.
I haven't watched it.
It's
on Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix. I recommend it.
Nice.
If you've seen, did you watch White Lotus season 2?
Yes, I watched it with Christian, yes.
You know the English guy that comes into it, the young one? He stars in the main role in One Day, and he's very good. His name is at the tip of my tongue right now, and I can't remember it.
Who befriends
Hayley Lee? What's her face's name? I'm blanking on names at the moment.
Yeah, but I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Good stuff, good stuff. Let's get into it, man. Joe. This week, we've got a few trailers. So we've got 3 trailers in total. First one is Captain America Brave New World. Quite early for a trailer for that, because that's like, I think, 7 months away. That's February 2025. So quite early with the trailer there. We've got Severance Season 2, also quite early, because that's a January release, according to the trailer. Much to the disappointment of many fans. We've got Gladiator II, which has had quite a controversial first trailer. We'll discuss that as well. And then we've got a lot of reviews. I have a very short review for Inside Out 2. It's been out for quite a while now, so just give really quick thoughts about that. You have a review for Longlegs. That's going to be the main focus of the podcast today. We've got, I got to watch Horizon: An American Saga Chapter 1, which released in Malta this week. Actually, no, it released in Malta last weekend, but I couldn't go watch it, so I went to watch it midweek. That's Horizon: An American Saga Chapter 1 of 3 or 4, I believe. We'll see how many of those actually get released.
I was going to say, we don't know now.
Yeah. I mean, the third one is being filmed right now, apparently. The third one just started filming.
Yeah,
the second one is complete.
It's complete, but it's just had its release date pulled.
Yes, exactly. We'll see what happens there. We'll discuss it later on as well. It's part of the discussion. Fly Me to the Moon, which I got to watch this weekend. I watched it actually yesterday. That's pretty much it with regard to the reviews. That's it, right, Joe? You only have Longlegs.
I think so, yeah.
To review.
Yeah, I don't have any TV or anything like that. I haven't watched anything.
Yeah. So and then I'll just go really quickly go through the 3 series I've been watching at the start, like we've been doing recently. So that's our plan for today. And hello to all the viewers and listeners in the chat. Let us know what you've been up to. We're going to get into what we've been up to now. In fact, Joe, start off. What have you been up to this week? What have you been watching or playing?
Kind of just like a bit of like a back to reality week of just getting back into work. As I mentioned, I watched Longlegs, released the review for that on my channel as well. Apart from that, watching, I mentioned I watched Thirst as well last night, but I've done the very typical thing of where I want a certain flavor of television show. And I can't find anything that I haven't seen before. So I revert to something that I know. And I've started watching Love again, which is on Netflix, created and mostly written by Judd Apatow, starring Paul Rust and Gillian Jacobs. And it's just it's basically, if you like the Apatow thing of where he gets people to interact really well and have like sort of normal conversations, but it's compelling, that's basically what the show is. It's probably a little bit more along the lines of like a comedy and a drama. But I really like it. It's just very easy to watch. And I did start watching as well, but it lost me a little bit just because these things tend to. It's also on Netflix as well, called Easy, where it's an anthology series created by Joe Swanberg, where every episode is a different story, and it can be like about 2 people's relationship. It can be between like about 2 siblings trying to start their own business. Just very varied, different stories here and there. Some of them are really good. Some of them are less good. And the reason why it kind of lost me is just these anthologies tend to, after a while, like they lose steam. The good thing it does is characters that you meet throughout episodes sometimes turn up in other episodes as those same characters, but with a much more background role. But it's all set in Chicago at the same time. And then even in season 2, some of the characters have like their stories sort of continued in a way. So it's a very strange anthology. But if you're looking for something, as the title says, easy to watch, each episode is 30 minutes long. There's much more hits than there are misses. And even the misses aren't necessarily like, oh, like this was really bad. It's just like, okay, that wasn't as good as the last one, kind of thing. That's good. I like interpersonal relationships and drama between people. That's the kind of like thing I'm looking for right now. So I recommend that.
Yeah. There's if you're looking for a new show, Joe, I know there's a new show on Apple TV.
That'd be good because I actually had Apple TV.
There's a new show called Sunny, which looks very quirky. It's a dark comedy show. Let me bring it up. It's got a bit of sci-fi bit of dark comedy in it. I haven't started watching it, but I looked at the trailer. It's 30 minutes long, so not too long. And I'm going to try and check it out this week.
That's cool. I like Rashida Jones
weekend
as well. So
yeah, and that's also something else that caught my attention. It's set in Japan, and the setting looks great. I've just really quickly scrolled through a couple of shots. It looks like it's really well shot as well.
Okay.
And got a bit of a sci-fi element, as you can tell here. Susie, an American woman living in Japan, and Sunny, a domestic robot made by her husband's company, as they uncover the dark truth of what really happened to Susie's husband and son, who disappeared in a mysterious plane crash.
Okay.
It looks interesting, and to be honest with you, I've never been disappointed with an Apple TV Plus show so far. The ones I've watched have all been quality.
Yeah.
So it piqued my interest, and you have Apple TV Plus, like you said. So this might
exactly. I might as well actually watch something new than revisit things like I do all the time.
I'm gonna try and check it out this week as well. Anything else, Joe?
I don't believe so. No.
Any games?
Games, just playing the same old games with my friends, playing Predecessor. If anyone wants a MOBA which isn't as toxic as League of Legends and is actually, in my opinion, a better experience because it controls as a third-person shooter, but then it's a MOBA. Look up Predecessor. It's very good. The team behind it is very good. They listen to their fans. They're always giving new content. The game is constantly growing and updating. They've just added ranked in now, so you get. But ranked is only once a week, so there's that extreme toxicity only once a week, which is good. And at least for me, it's a good way to reconnect and keep up with my friends who live abroad. So
nice. It's what Call of Duty is for me, basically. An opportunity to spend an hour or two with my friends who are abroad.
Yeah.
Basically. So, in my case, Joe, I've watched a few things with regard to movies. Like I messaged you guys during the week. I've been reading Mark Cousin's History of Film. And I've been trying to follow through with the movies mentioned. So, obviously, I got in one of the most controversial films probably ever released, a certain Birth of a Nation.
Yeah.
Which, it feels a little weird saying it's a good film, but it's a good film. It's like it's really well made. Obviously, there's the whole misinformation part of it. It's very, very problematic.
But you just need to look at the date of when it was made. And that's not, it's not making an excuse. It's not defending the film. It is a product of its time.
Yes. The thing is, I think even for 1915, this was racist. I mean, there are lots of people complaining about 1915.
But wait, because I was having a discussion about this. There's an American guy who works with me in my office, and someone actually brought up the topic today of they just asked him, as an American, why do you think racism is so bad between black people and white people in the United States? Why is it still a problem? And he basically then put it in the context of, if you go through the timeline of things happening, I can't remember exact dates he was saying because I was only half paying attention. It was in the morning before I had a coffee. But he said if you go from the actual emancipation law being passed, and you go to Martin Luther King, that's already nearly 100 years.
Mm.
And Martin Luther King was still having to fight for these kinds of rights.
Yes,
there were places in the United States it's obviously still happening today, and it's fucking terrible. But there were lynchings happening in the United States in some states up until the 70s and 80s. If you go back and you watch the film Remember the Titans, about the football team where the high school, they decided to join both black and white students, and they got a football team out of it. That was only in the 60s. This is not that long ago. This is our parents' lifetime.
Yeah.
So for us as Europeans, 1915, we feel we couldn't have been that racist back then, as a society. But it's a very different story in America.
But watching it, even some of the stuff shown, for example, Congress having 100 black persons in it, and there being 30 white persons, the poor minority white people. That, I think.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's completely overblown and propagandized. 100%.
And then the congressmen, the black congressmen, eating chicken and drinking whiskey in Congress. This stuff. Like people
let's-
believe this. People
yeah,
believe this. This
let's
was
not
shown
forget.
in the White House, huh?
Yeah.
This was the first film shown in the White House.
Like, you just have to look at the poster that we're looking at right now. That is a member
Yes,
of
yes,
the Ku
yes.
Klux
I
Klan
hope we
looking
don't
like
get
a knight in shining armor.
I hope this doesn't
In
get
this,
blocked.
the
because
Ku
I'm showing
Klux
this.
Klan even like part funded the film to have it made, and they definitely had an influence on the creative process and what was going into it. So
Yep.
it's birthed, for lack of a better word, from a diabolical sect of people.
And then obviously D.W. Griffith was offended by the fact that he was called a racist and made another 3-hour epic called Intolerance a year later. And this
I
is
actually haven't
insane.
seen this one.
This is insane. Joe, it's actually very watchable. This is very, very watchable film.
I'm sure it is, because despite all the issues around D.W. Griffith, as you say, very, very, very good filmmaker.
He is. And I was actually really impressed by just how big the sets were, how many extras there were. There's a scene that was just showing now on the fall of Babylon. These sets, these are all built sets. This is crazy. I mean, the amount of extras in this scene and how massive the sets are here is just impressive. You've got a whole like Kingdom of Heaven type siege scene where you've got siege towers attacking walls and the siege towers burning and falling.
Yeah.
It's truly impressive. It's basically 4 stories linked together with the main theme, which is obviously intolerance, right? It's very on the nose, of course. I mean, literally, it's the title cards are literally, this is intolerance. This is happening because of intolerance. I'm like, okay, we get it. We know it's about intolerance. But what's happening on screen is really impressive. There's the massacre, the Saint Bartholomew massacre, where the Huguenots were slaughtered in France. There's the fall of Babylon, and then there's a modern story, and there are some snippets from the Bible focusing on Jesus, like for example, the wedding in Cana, and so on. 4 stories in total. But the stuff that is there is truly impressive, like really, really impressive. Some of the shots in this are incredible. And even the acting, some of the acting, I know some of the issues with silent film is obviously there's no dialogue, so you need to overact to show emotions, right? But here, especially in the modern story, the acting is actually really good, really impressive. So I was really impressed by Intolerance. Some other silent films I watched. I went through a couple of Monroe films. I rewatched Nosferatu. This is like my 3rd rewatch of Nosferatu. Also good in preparation, obviously, for Robert Eggers' upcoming amazing film. I'm pretty sure it's going to be amazing, like everyone on his other films.
I have no doubt.
I have no doubt, yeah. This is one I hadn't watched from Monroe, The Last Laugh. Which is... I had not yet watched it. This is a new one, which was a new one for me. I enjoyed it. It's a great performance, really impressive central performance by Emma Jennings. Overall, I had a good time watching it. There's some new cinematic techniques in it as well. There's a couple of panning scenes which are really impressive. So it's overall, it's a good watch, very watchable as well.
I mean, if you go for now, it is like the birth of German expressionism to be all filmed, really. So
exactly. And to conclude, on Saturday, me and my girlfriend were going through the Blu-rays, see something, whatever. And the first film that came up was a film I've watched maybe like 3, 4, 5 times now. I think this is my 4th or 5th rewatch. And we were lucky to come up with Taxi Driver. And I was like, oh yeah, let's watch Taxi Driver. You haven't watched it, so
an absolute all-timer.
Reminding me once more that Scorsese in the 70s and 80s was like, no one could come close to his run of films.
Exactly, he is in my mind. I think people who listen to the show often know how I feel about Martin Scorsese, but he, to me, belongs. If you're making a Mount Rushmore of directors, he's there. Like there's no debate about it.
Yep. It's really impressive. And a really young. I always forget. There's a really young Jodie Foster in this.
Yes.
Like
Controversially young Jodie Foster in this film.
Yeah, in those scenes, apparently in the worst scenes, it's her sister, not really her sister because she's adopted, right? I believe.
Yeah.
But her also adopted sister, who actually looks quite like her with a bit of makeup and a bit of hairstyling.
Yeah.
So they used her sister in some of those scenes, in the worst scenes, but just the build up to the end. And it's I always forget how little plot there is in Taxi Driver.
Yep.
There really is little to no plot at all. It's just an exploration onto one man, just an exploration of one person. But that one person is such a strange and controversial figure. But at the same time, the approach taken by Scorsese is not to turn him into a villain.
But it's also not to turn him into a hero.
But it's not to turn him into a hero either. It's like the most classic of gray characters, where, yes, this is not a good person, but you understand why this person is not a good person. You know the shit he's been through, and you can tell that this guy needs help. Yeah. And you can tell how lonely he is.
You understand why he's choosing to take out his anger on a certain group of people as well. You know?
Talking about racism, by the way.
Yeah.
It's obviously a classic. And then I watched Inside Out 2, Horizon, American Saga, and Fly Me to the Moon with regard to films. With regard to shows, I know House of Dragon episode 5 came out obviously yesterday for the US, today for us here in Malta.
I need to actually start that. Maybe I'll start it tonight.
Yeah, I watched episode 4 this week. Episode 4 was insane. I probably put it there with the second or third best episode of House of Dragon so far. Massive dragon battle, all that we've been building up to, the tension between both sides, between the Greens and the Blacks, culminates in this episode. It's a massive battle, really impressive CGI. The tension is on point. The storytelling is on point. You care, at least I and my girlfriend, I know she cares about the characters as well. Which then leads me on to why Star Wars is not able to create a show like this, where you care about the characters, where the action is as crisp and as exciting as it was in episode 4.
Still watching this shit?
Because I watched episode 7 of The Acolyte, named Choice, and I think I wouldn't call it the worst episode so far, because episode 3 was a thing, but a bitter truth is revealed. And it's pretty much Star Wars trying to do kind of like a Rashomon, where you see the same story from a different point of view. But the thing about good, films like Rashomon and The Last Duel and Monster, for example, my second favorite movie of this year. Check it out if you haven't watched it. And Monster is that it's not just a question of changing the camera angle, but seeing the same thing, which is basically what you get for 3/4 of this episode, where you see the same stuff that happened in episode 3 from a different camera angle, but it's still the same stuff. You're just seeing it from a literally different point of view, where with other films which do this much better, you actually learn something real, true, fresh, and completely changes the way you look at things, right? Here, it's just a literal, just a change of point of view, camera point of view, where you're seeing the same action. And then the final 10 minutes is like, oh no, she dropped fire. Oh, it was all an accident. Like, of course it was an accident. The stuff you learn in this is what's so obvious, and you could see it coming from a mile away. And it still breaks my heart to see that it's Kogonada directing.
I didn't know that Kogonada was involved in this. How the hell do you go from Columbus and After Yang to this?
And it's not well directed, Joe, because I mean, it's the performance. Some of the performances in this are horrific. Some of the performances, Mother, this actress, I don't know if I've ever seen her in anything. But I have to say, there are some scenes in it where she's shouting, and I burst out laughing. Like, I literally burst out laughing. I was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Horrific performances from
Kogonada isn't someone I would ever pick to do something like this. His films are like, he's known mainly for his video essays and his beautiful imagery. And even his films have a really like languid, kind of nice flow to them, and you just want to listen to people. Like Columbus, essentially nothing happens in that movie.
Yes. But I mean, if you go with the Jedi, maybe you can go for that tone where you're like, maybe a character study of a Jedi.
Maybe. I mean, you know my opinion on the Jedi and Star Wars.
Visually, Kogonada can pull it off, right? We know he can pull it off. Clearly, he can pull it off.
Yeah.
With stuff like After Yang and Columbus.
I think maybe he'd be good to do something maybe a bit more philosophical in Star Wars if he did like the Wills or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe not just the Jedi or like the origins of the Force and things that are very ethereal and ghost-like.
Yes. Like the Clone Wars. What's the tree? The three gods in the Clone Wars.
I don't remember. I didn't watch the Clone Wars.
Oh, you never watched the Clone Wars, yeah. Anyways. But yes, it's very disappointing. And this is not to pile onto the hate. This is not a question of hating. I mean, if I like it, I like it. If I dislike it, I dislike it. I know a lot of people hated Ahsoka. I was quite a fan for most of Ahsoka. So if I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. And I'm sorry, I really did not like Choice. And I'm sure that a lot of these ratings are more hate ratings than, people actually giving their opinion. It's just people hating for hating's sake. But, it's just not good. It's not a good show. It's not good Star Wars.
I think we need to come to accept something now with the way Star Wars has gone. I don't know if as much will be people just hating for the sake of it now. Because now it is, on the whole, really, really bad. If you look at stuff like the Book of Boba Fett, and if you look at the Obi-Wan show, which the Obi-Wan show I will defend for having some really good moments.
Yes, that I would completely agree on.
Overall, it is not good, but there are some fantastic moments in the Obi-Wan TV show, where I think if you had a stronger writer and a stronger showrunner, you could have had something worth saying.
Agreed.
But since the big trilogy came out, the only thing I would ever tell anyone to watch is Andor. And that's the one that people don't want to go and watch because it's related to Rogue One.
And Rogue One, I would say Rogue One is a very watchable film as well.
Oh yeah, no, to be fair, I think they're all watchable apart from The Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think Rise
of Skywalker is like garbage, trash.
I think it is, to me, the worst one.
Yes.
It's worse than Attack of the Clones. It's worse than The Phantom Menace, because at least those ones you have the funny memes from them.
Yes, exactly. And there's some good, there's some fine moments, both in Attack of the Clones, like the final 30 minutes, I would say, are fun to watch.
Yeah,
it's fun to watch the Jedi at their full power,
Yeah, and I'll defend the prequel trilogy on the fact that as 3 films, they make complete sense. The arc is clear in all 3 of them. But yeah, Star Wars. I don't know. I don't know how Disney have fumbled it this hard. They have tried to turn it into McDonald's, and the funny thing is, Star Wars was always McDonald's because usually everyone liked Star Wars, so they didn't really have to change up all that much. They tried to Marvelize it a lot, unfortunately, and now that is backfiring for them with Marvel itself.
And the sad thing, Joe, is like we say, get talent. They did get talent for this because Leslie Headland had a very good show. Prior to this, she had Russian Doll, which was
she also openly admitted
success.
That she'd never seen Star Wars.
Yeah, which is an issue, right? Which is a big issue.
And then you've got actors on the show who are naming the wrong people that they're meant to be like. I'm sorry, like you've got the bare minimum to do is like do some research on what you're covering. Like, and the problem is now, good talent. I mean, they'll always be tempted by a paycheck, yes, but I don't think any serious talent wants to go anywhere near Star Wars now.
I completely agree. It's too much of a shit show, and the fact that so many films get announced and then get cancelled, and then you've got a trilogy by Rian Johnson, and what the fuck happened to that? And you've got the fighter pilot film.
Yeah, that was one. Patty Jenkins.
Patty Jenkins. What the hell happened to that?
You know who I would love to see take that? Joseph Kosinski.
Yes, I can see that. I mean, Kosinski does very good action, so.
Well, let him do Top Gun, but X-Wings.
Yeah.
You know,
he does good action. I agree on that. He does very good action. Very.
But like I think what I would love to see them do with Star Wars, and it's never ever going to happen. There's a higher chance of me winning the lottery 3 times than this happening. Let genre filmmakers make genre films in the Star Wars universe. Essentially, what Andor is not necessarily a genre film, but it is a spy espionage thriller set in the Star Wars universe. And it's deep and it's political. It's really good. Put a fucking horror film in the Star Wars universe. Do an out-and-out Western in the Star Wars universe. Do a slasher film in the Star Wars universe.
See, you know? That's the thing about The Acolyte. That's why my hopes were really high, because when I saw the first reactions to it, I was like, okay, this is the next Andor. Okay, you've got a talented showrunner. You've got, a concept about, the Acolyte. The Acolyte being the evil assistant to some kind of Sith figure, whatever. I was like, okay.
A problem in and of itself, though.
Yes, but if it's good, if the story is fine, I think everyone would eventually be like, okay, sure, maybe it's breaking a little bit, but
exactly. But like, you can't. I'm sorry, when you have this property, you can't adopt this canon and be like, when Disney took it over, they were like, okay, these things are canon, these things are legend. And the thing that is canon, which they decided to keep as canon, is that no Sith had ever been seen or heard of for over 1,000 years before Darth Maul turned up in The Phantom Menace. All you had to do with that, make the Acolyte, but make it 1,001 years before The Phantom Menace. Not, what is it, 100?
100, yes, around 100. No, yes, 100.
Yeah. But like, go thousands of years, go to the Old Republic and have an epic war between the Sith and the Jedi. We've never seen that on screen. Like, one thing I like about the forthcoming video game, Star Wars Outlaws, is that they've just created a character who's obviously an archetype of characters we've seen in the Star Wars universe, who's this like swashbuckling smuggler. And they're like, okay, cool story in this giant Star Wars universe. I'm hoping that game is good, and people that have played it, whose opinions I quite respect, have said so far from what they have played, which is a couple of hours, is that it is good. Apparently, it's essentially open world, Uncharted in Star Wars.
I have not liked the gameplay I've seen so far, to be honest, but
I haven't been too impressed. But again, this is just hearing from people whose opinions that I follow, and they're like, no, guys, this is actually seeming to be pretty good, but obviously we'll fully judge it when we get to play the whole game rather than 4 hours of the game. But at least they've gone for that sort of originality of like, look, new character, new thing. Yes, it's in the same world. Like, that's what I liked about what the Jedi games did with Fallen Order and with Survivor. They created a character. They made sure he fit into the canon somewhere where it made sense. He doesn't step over too many toes of main big historical elements, so it can't break the canon, and they can still tell something compelling. But Disney seems to be obsessed with trying to make everything they make, whether it's a film or television, fucking relate back to the Jedi and the Skywalkers, and it just has to go. Like, they had the perfect opportunity. Sorry, spoilers for The Mandalorian Season 2, but if you haven't watched it by now, you probably should have. The perfect opportunity at the end of Season 2 of The Mandalorian was, rather than having fucking CGI Luke Skywalker turn up, bring in Cal Kestis from the video games. You have an actual actor in Cameron Monaghan playing that role in the video games. Bring him into the live action. The timelines would have lined up perfectly. And then it's interesting, and then people go like, oh shit, who is this guy? Oh, he's in that video game. I'm going to go buy that video game, and I'm going to go and play it. And suddenly, we're building a world, But I don't know. I feel passionately about it because Star Wars is something like my first memories of watching things with like my brother were Star Wars, and it's something I can't help but still love, and I want it to be good, and it upsets me that it is not good.
Yeah. And so that was The Acolytes and The Boys, episode 7, which I think was probably the best episode of season 4 so far. The Insider. Massive. Actually, I won't say anything about it, not to spoil anything. Are you watching The Boys, Joe?
The Boys is one. Some of my friends are very into it. I did try to start it, and I got about 5 or 6 episodes into season 1. But there was just something about it which didn't do it for me. And it might...
Okay.
The thing is, like, it's definitely good. And I like the meta-narrative and what it's doing about our idea of superheroes and all that. I respect it. And Anthony Starr is fantastic. I do think that Carl Urban as Billy Butcher is horrendous, but that's just my opinion.
What? No.
It's terrible. He's meant to be Cockney, but he goes between sounding like he's Cockney or Australian every 10 seconds, and it's annoying. It's terrible. Just make him Australian and let him be Australian.
Fucking diabolical.
It's a horrendous accent. But I get that people find him charismatic and funny, and that's absolutely fine. It's just something I couldn't get into, and it might be to do with the fact that I'm really over superhero stuff at the moment, and I find
this is a very different approach, though.
I completely agree, and that's why I said like I like the kind of like different narrative that it's going for, and it's turning superheroes into fucking terrible people, which is great. But just something about it just didn't keep me hooked in. So I decided not to stick with it. But I know it's definitely a good show. Everything I saw was very well made, very well written. It just didn't get its hooks in me.
Fair enough. It's been a controversial season. Like suddenly a lot of right-wingers noticed it's making fun of them.
It's about time.
You think after having a literal Nazi, like a literal Nazi who's still alive from the time of Mr. H.
Yeah.
Like there's him, there's her. There was Soldier Boy who makes fun of the whole American, figurehead of the army and so on. After having Homelander, who fucking goes to these right-wing Catholic meetings and uses that. You'd think that they, like the right-wingers, the extreme right-wingers, would have noticed it making fun of them. Finally, season 4 was the one that brought it to their attention. But anyways, and maybe it was even the showrunner saying himself, Kripke, saying that, if you haven't noticed, Homelander is not the hero here. There's a lot of people who think that Homelander is the hero. I'm like, really? I think you need to get your head checked if you think Homelander is the hero.
It's pretty clear from like the first episode that he is a very bad person.
Yeah. But let's move on, Joe. Let's get into the news first of all, and then we've got a few trailers. Viewers and listeners, let us know what you've been up to in the past week in the comment section below. And now we're going to move into the news. And unfortunate news to start off our new segment, because this week on July 11th, as you can tell from the news segment itself on Hollywood Reporter, we found out that Shelley Duvall, Robert Altman protege and tormented wife in The Shining, dies at the age of 75. The saucer-eyed, rail-thin wife who starred in 7 films directed by her mentor, Robert Altman, and avoided the axe wielded by an unhinged Jack Nicholson in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, died Thursday. She was 75. Duvall died in her sleep of complications from diabetes at her home in Blanco, Texas. Spokesperson Gary Springer told The Hollywood Reporter. Joe, we've seen Shelley Duvall in a number of different shows and films. Obviously, this is an unfortunate loss. Still, at the age of 75, still, not the oldest, but yeah, unfortunate, right?
Yeah, it's sad, but it is unfortunately part of the passing of time, She was not, at least to my knowledge, in very good health for the last 20 or so years, where I think she had a fairly public breakdown where a lot of people blamed it on the whole Stanley Kubrick of it all, which may or may not have been responsible. That's not my place to comment on. I don't know the details of that. I'm not as much in the know. But I'll say what I say when we get any news of this. Condolences to anyone related to her, anyone that knew her, and just thank you for the performances as well.
Yep, indeed. So very, very unfortunate news here about Shelley Duvall. Moving on to our first trailer of the day, and that is going to be one of Joe's favorites. He's been really looking forward to this one.
Oh, I can't fucking wait.
Captain America 4. This is the fourth one, right? Yeah, it's the fourth one. Because we got our first Captain America Brave New World trailer. It is the fourth one because there's Civil War.
Yeah, but there was the
First Avenger.
The series was Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yes.
I don't know if that if that involves Sam becoming Captain America. I didn't watch that, so
More or less. So Marvel Studios has just dropped the long-awaited first trailer for Captain America Brave New World, and there looks to be very large, red, and hulkish problem on the horizon for Sam Wilson and his buddies. The trailer puts Sam Wilson directly into conflict with Thunderbolt Ross, that is Harrison Ford, who wants to make Captain America an official military position again, similar to that used by John Walker, who is the very good Wyatt Russell in The Falcon and Winter Soldier, and even that of Steve Rogers, Chris Evans, in World War II. We also see Isaiah Bradley attempt to take out Ross. The film also looks like it will once again deal with identity issues, as Ross claims that while Sam may be Captain America, he's not Steve Rogers. And at the very end of the teaser, which also features Giancarlo Esposito's new villainous gun-toting addition to the movie, we see a very angry Hulk throwing the iconic red, white, and blue shield into the ground. It seems evident from the teaser that Ford's Thunderbolt Ross is being positioned as a serious antagonistic player in the series going forward, which is certainly something for fans of the MCU to get excited about. Captain America Brave New World is all set to soar into theaters next year on February 14th, 2025.
Wow, they're dumping this in February.
Yes, now.
So they're dumping it in historically the worst month for box office of the year.
Now, there is one reason why I think they're doing this. If I remember correctly, Black Panther was released. Yes, Black Panther was released in February as well. Mm-hmm. Now, are they trying to do a Black Panther where you literally have zero competition in February?
Maybe. It shows that they don't trust these films to be big summer blockbusters anymore.
Yes, that's very much the case. Because apart from Deadpool, which Deadpool is, a definite 1 billion, if not more, film. Especially when you've got Deadpool and Wolverine. It can be the worst film ever made. Yeah, it will still make 1 billion. That's certain. Right? Apart from a character like Deadpool and a character like Wolverine, who are definite money makers, the majority of characters whom you can trust to make a lot of money are not there anymore.
No.
Because we've lost Black Panther, unfortunately, very unfortunate. That's out of control. We had a character like Captain Marvel who did make $1 billion, but whose second film was a complete catastrophe. Mm-hmm. Iron Man is no more. Mm-hmm. Captain America is apparently now a February release. Mm-hmm. What's left? Spider-Man is still a definite moneymaker. But Spider-Man, obviously, there's the issue of Sony there.
Yeah, there's nothing on the horizon for Spider-Man at the moment.
Hulk is whatever the fuck they're trying to do with Hulk. I don't know what they're trying to do with Hulk. Mm-hmm. And I think that's also another issue with rights, where they can't have a full Hulk film.
Yeah, it's technically Universal, yeah.
So what other, characters, unique characters, where you're going to pull in a lot of people? That's, I think, one of the biggest issues we have right now. So there's that. Now, looking at the trailer, Joe, I think I'm going to pause this and just bring up some scenes. I think the trailer looks okay. This is a 300 million budget film. It's had a ridiculous amount of reshoots, an absolute ridiculous amount, where I mean, Giancarlo Esposito's character was brought on. Some of the CGI looks pretty bad, but we're 7 months away, so I will kind of forgive them a little bit.
Okay, so it'll definitely look worse when it releases.
I know. To be fair, I don't hate Harrison Ford in this. I think he looks fine from what I saw in the trailer. I like the fact that they're going for a more thriller-esque, vibe with this Brave New World film. So definitely they're going more towards what was the second Captain America film?
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. They're going more towards that side, kind of like tone and genre, and which I really liked. I really liked Winter Soldier, so that's fine. I'm happy with that. Visually, looks pretty uninspiring for a $300 million budget film. So that's something we have to mention. Again, visually, it does not look great. Look at the scene. It looks so, meh.
It looks like a digital painting.
Yes, it looks like a war zone map.
Yeah, like a weird desktop background from like 2009.
It doesn't look great, so that's an issue, right?
Yeah.
To be fair, no, I watched this on my phone. So, but the CGI on Hulk did not look awful. I mean, yeah, it doesn't look great.
I think I might have a controversial opinion for you.
What's that, Joe?
And it revolves around one person. After his incredible villainous turn in Breaking Bad as Gustavo Fring, has Giancarlo Esposito been a bit of a disappointment overall?
Is definitely being shoehorned into one character, right? Portraying that one character in numerous other shows and films.
I can't think of anything where, to me, him doing something has really stood out.
He's good in The Boys. I like him in The Boys. He's doing the same character, but he's doing it well.
I haven't seen The Boys, so I can't.
So there's that. He's literally the same character, but he's doing it well, which is good.
The only thing I've seen recently where he
Mandalorian.
plays something in The Mandalorian, he was fucking terrible.
Yes.
In The Mandalorian.
Exactly.
His character wasn't, and not really him. His character is a joke in The Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
And it had the potential to be really good, but the character is an absolute joke.
Season 3 especially, yeah. Season 3 was, oh my lord.
Something which was recent, where he's actually doing something a little bit different, is in Maxine, where he's not in it for a terrible amount of the film. He's only in it for, I would say, a combined maybe 8 minutes. But at least he's not doing the typical, like, ominous, big-talking villain role. Yeah. Which was refreshing to see. But I hate to say it, because in Breaking Bad he's so fucking good. I think he's been typecast, and I think it's been.
He has been typecast, and the thing is, in his role in Breaking Bad was a real breakthrough for him in the sense of he had never done that kind of role prior.
Yeah.
And everyone loved his performance.
Yes,
so everyone's like, bring Giancarlo Esposito in, and just rewrite that same exact character.
Yes, but what people are forgetting is in Breaking Bad is he was multifaceted.
Yeah.
He had the Gustavo Fring he would show to people every day going to the chicken place, where he was charismatic and he was likable, but then he had that switch that he could just flick.
Mm-hmm.
And he was the most terrifying hustler you've ever seen. You know?
Mm-hmm. Now we'll see him in the Francis Ford Coppola film, Megalopolis. That'll be interesting to see.
I guess, yeah, that movie's going to be fucking strange, I can tell. Like,
Indeed.
I kind of can't wait, but I know it's going to be weird.
Me too. I am so looking forward to that, as bad as it might be, or as good as it might be, or as mixed as it might be.
Yeah.
That's the kind of film where you're in and you're like, I have no idea what's coming up. Because I literally have no idea what's coming up. I don't think anyone has been able to explain what kind of film Megalopolis is. Like, the best critics have seen it, and I think everyone has failed to give me any idea of what kind of film it is.
Even the creators and the cast can't explain what this film is.
Exactly.
So to me, that has the makings of being the best movie of all time.
Exactly. But to conclude my thoughts, and I'll let you talk a little bit about it, Joe, if you want to add anything to this. I mean, I think this will be fine. I don't think it's going to be a bad film per se. I don't think this will be a bad film.
Who's directing?
Good question. Let me look it up. Captain America: Brave New World. Director is Julius Ona. I have no idea what he's created so far.
I've seen Loose. Oh, he did the Cloverfield Paradox.
Oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no. I watched that with my parents.
That's a really fucking bad film.
The first Cloverfield film.
Yeah, and then Cloverfield Lane is really good.
Yeah. That's the second one, right? The second Cloverfield film. Yeah, that was also very good. I watched that with my parents. And then the third one was like...
No.
Lucha I haven't watched, so I don't know. You watched it, Joe?
Loose is it's just fine.
Loose, sorry.
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Mm-hmm. Good cast, though.
Yeah.
So not much to comment about here with regard to the director. Again, visually, it does not look inspiring. Looking at the trailer, I mean, again, it has a very good cast, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm very iffy about it, especially considering the large amount of reshoots there have been. Like, this film has changed like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine what has happened to the original screenplay. I suspect very little of the original screenplay is still there, which might be a good thing.
Sometimes it's a good thing. I was going to say, sometimes it's a good thing, but it's 7 times out of 10 it is not.
Yeah, because Feige went in, saw the screenplay and saw what they had shot so far, and similar to what he's done with Daredevil, he was like, no, this is not up to scratch. Like, let's redo this whole thing. But that's meant that the film now costs up even more than 300 million, which is like a ridiculous amount, where they have to make like 700, 800 million to even break even at this point, I believe, which I doubt this film will make, but we'll see. We'll see. Next up, sorry, Joe, did you want to add anything to Captain America 4?
I have nothing to add.
Okay, so moving on to the second trailer of the day, which is Severance Season 2 trailer. Not much to comment about here, to be honest with you, Joe. Looking at the trailer, it's literally just a couple of shots of the innies going into the lift, and a bit of news, right? That the release date has been confirmed to be January 17, 2025, which would be something I look forward to. Januaries are generally quite depressing, so that's at least one good thing about January.
Good release date, like.
I think so. Not for movies, but definitely for series, I think. Because lots of people will stay inside in January. Very few people go out on a January. If you go to Valletta in a January, it's like it's literally empty. No one. You'll see no one.
Yeah, you just had a month of going out and spending loads of money at Christmas time. So
exactly. So why not spend January in front of your TV watching Severance on Apple TV Plus? I think it's a very good idea, actually. You're right. Obviously, people are upset that it's releasing 2-3 years now after the first season, which feels like an eternity ago at this point.
Yeah. This was one of the main ones that was hit by the writer's strike as well.
Yep, exactly.
So,
and I think they had some issues themselves when actually just writing the show.
Yeah,
there were some disagreements, and some arguments there. But finally, we're getting season 2. More or less, Joe, it looks like more of what we got in season 1. Like literally more
I still haven't watched all of season 1. I watched the first episode like months ago, and I was like, this is really good, but I just need to find a day where I watch it all.
I mean, now you have Apple TV Plus, Joe. So
I do, yes. I need that day,
Yeah, I get it.
I need that whole time. Yeah. In fact, I've got a holiday coming up next month. Maybe it'll be my holiday show.
Your Severance holiday.
Exactly.
But yeah, Severance season 1 was I think that was my favorite series of what was it, 2022 now? I think it was 2022. I might be mistaken. Let me look it up.
I think it might have been 2021.
February 2022. It was my favorite series of that year, definitely. Visually, like the soundtrack, listening to the trailer, just listening to that little jingle from season 1, really brought back the memories of how much of a good time I had. And the final episode, Joe, obviously I won't say anything about what happened. The final episode was like mind-blowingly good. It's like the perfect culmination of all the tension and all the different plot lines, concluding some plot lines, leaving some plot lines open, but keep like making it super satisfying to the viewer. Because Severance season 1 can be a bit of a slow burn at times, but the build-up is just so insanely well done.
Yeah.
Like this was such a well-written show, and visually very well done as well. Such a well-directed show. Just a really well done show. So I'm looking forward to season 2. So much. Yeah, very excited by that. I don't think you want to add anything, right, Joe? Since you haven't watched season 1.
No, nothing to add.
And to conclude our trailers, before we move on then into our reviews, we've got the final trailer, and probably will be the most controversial one. Joe, I'm going to ask just one thing out of you, because I've been so mixed about this. Please don't tell me that orchestras didn't exist in the time of the Romans. Because I've seen that argument, and it's just like, dude, we've had 100+ years of orchestras in films.
Look,
I know orchestras didn't exist in the time of the Romans.
I think I'm also quite hot and cold on this trailer. I'm pretty mixed. The stuff with the action excites me because I like swords and sandals action, and it looks big and bombastic, and there's water in the Colosseum. That's cool as shit. But then anything between characters in the trailer seems very corny.
Oh boy.
And I don't like that, and it worries me because I love the original Gladiator.
Let me tell you why, Joe. So, written by David Scarpa, infamously the writer of one of the, I wouldn't say one of the worst movies, but a pretty terribly written film in Napoleon. From a story he created with Peter Craig, the Gladiator sequel is set years after the original film and has Mescal taking over the role of Lucius that Spencer Treat Clark portrayed in the 2000 movie. Lucius is the son of Lucilla, obviously Connie Nielsen, who makes a return from the original film, and the nephew of Commodus, portrayed by Joaquin Phoenix in the first film, one of my all-time favorite antagonists. The film's starry ensemble also includes Joseph Quinn, Fred Heshinger, Leo Raz, and Derek Jacobi. The plot is set to follow Lucius, who resides peacefully with his family in Numidia, but General Marcus Archias' invasion of the city forces Lucius into slavery. Inspired by Russell Crowe's Maximus, Lucius decides to become a gladiator and challenge the rule of Empress Caracalla and Geta, who is Quinn. Gladiator II is set to open November 22nd against the first chapter of Universal Pictures' Wicked. That'll be interesting. That's going to be a big weekend for the box office. So, Joe, your thoughts? So, you're a little mixed.
Little mixed, yeah. And I kind of already said why. The music choice for this trailer is just fucking wild. It's just why did they do this? In fact, I've actually seen someone recut the trailer but using the original Hans Zimmer score.
I sent it on chat.
And it's so much better already. But I'm pretty sure there's going to be a form of orchestral score in the actual film.
Wait, I thought they were going to play 21 Savage in this.
No.
No, I'm joking.
I've seen a lot of like joke threads about that, of people listing the artists that they're going to.
The Lessinophile tweet has gone like super viral, and everyone's believing it.
I know the amount of people that have been like, "What the fuck are they doing to this movie?" I'm like, guys, like, Lessinophiles is a joke account. It's a parody account. It's the same account where when they announced the Dune popcorn bucket, the first tweet from Lessinophiles was, "I'm going to fuck the Dune 2 popcorn bucket." But yes.
Oh, so good.
Visually, and like when I say visually, I mean the spectacle looks satisfying. It looks big and the battles look good. And the CGI, for the most part, looks pretty good, like especially the part of the rhino at the end. But I can't understand some things. And it's obviously like we've got the character of Lucius, who, from the original film, his grandfather would have been Marcus Aurelius. But now he's a slave in this one. And I don't know how you get to that point from being from a family of Caesars to that. But I guess we'll find out. And that's already getting under my skin a little bit. It pains me to say it. I think Denzel Washington looks a bit ridiculous in this. I just don't think he fits.
Careful, Joe. Careful, because I've seen some articles about anyone who dares criticize Denzel Washington, who is one of my personal favorite films. Like I go watch every film with Denzel Washington. I adore the Equalizer films. I adore the Equalizer films.
He seems to be in the trailer, and it could be from the way it's cut.
I'm sure that's the case.
He seems to be on a different cadence to everyone else. Whereas typically now, one thing, it was actually starting to annoy me, the amount of people pointing out historical inaccuracies in this film.
That armor, what on that armor? I'm sorry, Joe, I can't not say it, but they didn't have this kind of armor.
And I'm gonna
on their legs. No,
I'm gonna tell you right now, I don't care. Because
no, fine, I understand completely.
Then one of the big nitpicks people have been pulling out of it is, at this point in time, the Colosseum wasn't called the Colosseum. It was called the Colosseum like a couple of hundred years later. And I'm sorry, in the original Gladiator, they also called it the Colosseum. Yes, I'm not watching a documentary. I'm not trying to learn something. I'm trying to watch buff dudes kill each other in gladiatorial combat. So I don't care. And also, I said this in a Facebook comment, and I think a lot of people agreed with me, going to a Ridley Scott historical epic expecting accurate history is like going to McDonald's for a steak.
No, Joe, I will forgive Gladiator. I did not forgive Napoleon, because Napoleon...
That's different. That's totally different. You are covering a historical figure.
I will completely forgive a film in which a gladiator kills an emperor. I completely forgive it.
Maximus Decimus Aurelius was not a real person in history, so it doesn't matter.
Exactly. Some things really annoy me, because at least you can get the armor right, but whatever, fuck it.
Yeah, who cares? This armor looks. If it looks good, I don't care, and I like the way the armor looks. So I really. But is it so
hard to get like the historically accurate armor also looks good? So why not just do that?
Yes, but
and you'll avoid a lot of controversy.
Honestly, it's probably what they had.
Probably, yeah. Fair enough.
Because it does look the same as 99% of Roman armor I have seen represented in film or television.
And this looks so good.
Yeah, see, and okay, if we're going to give it some props over here, people will be like, there's no way that they filled the Colosseum with water. Yes, they fucking did. They had ship battles in the Colosseum.
Yes, 100%.
They actually did that. Rhinos 100%. In the Colosseum was a thing as well. So credit where credit is due on that one. Now,
I don't know about the sharks part. I don't know if there were sharks.
I don't care. It's cool as shit. I don't care.
But it's cool as shit. Yeah, no, 100%. 100%, since we're talking about historical accuracy. It's cool as hell.
Yeah.
Denzel looks badass. He's bringing some... Oh, that's exactly my point. But that's a negative for me. He's bringing some training day energy, it seems, from the trailer. And that was my exact comment on X. I was like, he looks like he's coming off the set of Training Day 2, not
exactly. He feels like he's he feels like he's in a different movie. Actors typically in these kinds of films, especially with Ridley Scott, they're doing that very typical like pseudo British accent, and everyone's delivering lines in this sort of cadence. And don't get me wrong, change is good. Changing things up is good. It just, for now, it feels like he is in a different movie to everyone else.
I have a feeling it's the editing, Joe. I think in the context of the film,
it very well could be.
Because we're talking about one of the all-time best actors ever, period. So I think it's just the editing, which is the issue. And especially the fact that you got my man in the opening, because I hate the opening 3 seconds of trailer.
Yeah.
The trailer starts now.
As soon as he did that, I was just like, oh God, here we go.
My man. I'm like, my gladiator. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Issa, Joe,
at least the two main stars look and seem very good in Pedro Pascal and Paul Mescal.
Okay.
They seem very well cast, and they seem very good.
This is where I think the one thing we're going to disagree on, because I think we've agreed on everything so far, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whilst Pedro Pascal, we barely saw anything of him. We just saw him right on the chariot, and over here, I don't think we heard one line from him, did we, in the trailer?
I can't remember.
I don't think so, or maybe there was one line, possibly. Man, this scene was so cool. Like, why do you ruin this scene in the trailer? Like, why?
Yeah.
Did you notice in the trailer that I sent you, Joe? They didn't ruin the way that scene ended. They cut it completely, so they just did the dust part and then cut completely, not ruining the scene in the film, because now we know how it ends. You see in the trailer. Stuff like that really grates me. But, and this is going to be a really controversial comment, and I'm sure I'm going to receive a lot of hate for this, because it really breaks my heart to say this, because I adore Paul Mescal. I just don't get any charisma from him in this trailer.
I think you're dead wrong. He's also the most Roman-looking person I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, but I get zero charisma from him in this trailer.
No, I think it's a case of the lines that they chose to put in the trailer are all the cheesy ones.
I hope so. I really hope
forget,
so. You know how much I love Paul
he's an
Mescal.
actor. He's an actor who's very good at saying nothing.
Yes, 100%.
So I'm fairly certain we're going to get at least one or two of those moments. I hope. But no, I bought in, and I bought in on Pedro Pascal as well.
But I mean, it could be me comparing and contrasting him with "Are you not entertained?" Like, Russell Crowe has so many memorable lines, and he has such a powerful, that is a powerhouse performance.
This isn't going to be the first Gladiator. It's not the same Ridley Scott that did this. This is a much aged and changed Ridley Scott. It does make me wonder. The Gladiator II we could have gotten. Have you ever heard of the cave strip of where Maximus is in hell, but then he gets sent back in time and he's in World War II? I kind of really want that film. I won't lie.
Yeah. I mean, this is fine. This looks good. I mean, all these shots look great. But I would love that. And I think if they do the build-up right, and if they make us care about the character, I think the build-up to the Pedro Pascal versus Paul Mescal battle will be very good, because you've got, again, two of the greatest actors right now. I just have, so far from the trailer, have not bought into Paul Mescal's Lucius so far. Could be just the scenes we were given, but even the scene where he's like telling the other gladiators what to do. No, where he's like, we have to fight together. Like, compare that with Russell Crowe in the original.
But again,
it's so meh.
It's different because what we have with Maximus, Russell Crowe's character in that film, is we know he is a beloved military leader. And he has that behind him, and you spend the first 25 minutes of that film with him as a beloved military leader. So we don't really know what we're getting with Mescal's Lucius over here. But we'll see.
It'll be interesting to see, because again, everyone knows how much, I mean, everyone who follows this podcast know how much I adore After Sun, one of my all-time favorite films for me personally. I adore that film. And obviously Paul Mescal is a big reason why I adore that film so much. But I've always been a fan of the quiet roles for Paul Mescal. It'll be interesting to see how he approaches this. From what I've seen from the trailer, again, not too excited about that, but we'll see. He's gonna have to amp it up. He's gonna have to amp it up definitely in the actual film. But we'll see.
One thing I do have to give them credit for, and apparently Mescal was responsible for it, is he didn't get Marvel jacked for the role.
Yes, that's one thing I really like about this. He's naturally well built. He has a natural body.
Like he's in very good shape, obviously, but he's probably in the kind of shape where, like, I guess someone doing that kind of stuff back then probably could have been in that kind of shape. Exactly. Yeah, he's not Chris Hemsworth's Thor. Exactly. He looks farm strong. He doesn't look like a bodybuilder.
Like the issue I have with these films, like for example, that was one of the tiny issues I had with The Northman, where you can clearly tell this guy is dehydrated as hell.
The reason I don't have an issue with it in The Northman is because it's essentially a fairy tale.
Oh, fair enough. It bothered me just a little bit. I think probably one of the only thing that bothered me in that.
I mean, like a minor. I'm not minor spoiler for The Northman. Spoiler for The Northman. They do fight in an erupting volcano at the end.
True, because like then when with something like 300, for example, it did not bother me at all because 300 is 300, right?
It's based on a graphic novel as well.
Exactly. But yes, I will completely agree with you on that, Joe. The fact that he has like a very natural looking body, still well built,
like
still in
Russell
very
Crowe
good shape.
did in the first film as well.
Exactly, is a good thing. It's a very good thing. I'm talking about Denzel Washington. Have you watched the Tragedy of Macbeth, Joe?
Yes, I have.
Because I expected more of that kind of like performance from him.
Same. When they first cast him, I'm like, oh my god, he's going to be doing basically Roman tragedy. Are we going to get something similar to the Tragedy of Macbeth? And no, we're getting Training Day apparently.
Yeah, and his what I remember of Tragedy of Macbeth, I remember a lot of very good things. Talking about surrealism, by the way, it's a very good surrealist film. Is one of the final fight scene.
Great fight scene in that.
Where he doesn't even use a sword.
Yeah.
Because he knows he can't die. Because of this. I mean, it's such a great film.
Yeah.
But
it's
Macbeth,
one of the most unique looking.
Not this fight. Sorry,
I've
it
ever
was
seen.
the previous fight. This was very well done as well. The previous fight, but anyway, this was very good as well. He was so good. The fact that he wasn't even nominated for an Oscar for this was criminal.
No, I think he was nominated, wasn't he?
He was nominated for this?
I'm pretty sure he was, yes.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. So he was. But I expected this. I didn't expect him. My man.
Yeah, that's why it just feels like it's a different movie, but I hope we're wrong.
Yeah, hope so too. I'm sure in the context of the film, it will make sense. I just hope it's a really poorly edited trailer. That's what I hope for. By the way, it's not going to be Hans Zimmer taking care of the soundtrack, Joe.
Who is it?
It's his student, Greg. Oh God. Who's one of his? He has a lot of students.
Yes.
Harry Gregson Williams.
Okay,
Harry Gregson Williams.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but at least it's probably going to be pretty orchestral. I'm actually on the kind of like wavelength now of it feels like Hans Zimmer did every major film soundtrack for about 10 years, and maybe we should choose someone different now.
Yeah. I mean,
That's why I like
the amazing Dune 2 soundtrack. So
yeah, no, and this is not me saying that Hans Zimmer hasn't made pretty much every soundtrack fantastic, but I like that now we're getting like more people like Bear McCreary or like Ludwig Göransson coming up, and it's not just Hans Zimmer. You know, there was a time where the Hans Zimmer soundtracks were all a bit samey. I have to say.
Yes.
Like around the Blade Runner 2049 time, where it was that big like Brahms sort of sound, the big raw.
Dune 2 was a nice change, and even Dune, the original Dune, that was a nice change because he brought in some new elements, some new instruments into the picture.
Yes, he's going to go down as possibly the greatest of all time.
Exactly. By the way, Bruce disagrees with us, and he hopes that it's Denzel to the max. Be interesting to see. Maybe it fits in the context of the film. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. That's it with regard to the trailers, Joe. We've got a few reviews now to talk about. Do you want to start off with the review, or how are we going to go through it? We have Inside Out 2.
Yeah, you said you were just going to flick through Inside Out 2, so if you want
yes.
to
Let me really briefly give my thoughts on Inside Out 2. And by the way, viewers and listeners, hope you're enjoying the podcast. Don't forget to leave a like if you are enjoying the podcast. Let us know what you thought about all the different trailers we talked about. 3 very good trailers today for different reasons. Let us know in the comment section below. We're going to get now into the reviews. So we're going to start off with Inside Out 2, which I know released like a month ago now. But cinemas in Malta have been jam-packed. I've been there I've been to Embassy like a couple of times, and in both cases I had not bought tickets. But Inside Out 2 was completely sold out. It's been crazy how popular this film has been. But finally I managed to find the chance to go watch it on a Sunday morning, because that's the only way I could apparently get into the cinema to watch Inside Out 2, because this thing is just being sold out left, right, and center. And I'm happy to say it's a very good film.
Yeah,
Did you watch
it is.
the original Inside Out, Joe?
Yeah, I adore the first Inside Out. It's a top 5 from Pixar for me.
This is a very good Pixar film. Not as good as Inside Out 1,
No,
but it was never going to be as good as Inside Out 1, because obviously you've got the whole
it would have been tough.
the whole unique element of it all. I mean, we've seen it now, right? And many, I mean, for example, myself, I watched it the original Inside Out, like 3-4 times. So obviously there's that to keep in mind. But considering how much I enjoyed the first one, and considering how worried I was about the second Inside Out, I was a little worried. And yes, it is a bit of a retread of the whole plot line, more or less. More or less it's the same story. Though this time, Riley's a teenager. It's a really, really well done. And I'd say one of the big reasons why it's so good is the voice acting. The voice acting in this is crazy good. And I have to really give praise to Maya Hawke, who is just excellent in this. As Anxiety, she is such a real talent. In the world of Nepo babies, I am very happy with a
No,
Nepo
she's
baby
one
like
I
Maya
will.
Hawke.
She's one I will forgive, because her father in my mind is the perfect man.
Exactly.
Like, he's just someone, like, whenever he speaks about anything, I'm just like, 1, how are you so good looking? 2, how is every word you're saying so interesting?
Have you seen his? He did it with Maya Hawke. His
The Western TV show, The Good Lord Bird.
No. It's on YouTube for. I forget names so much. What's the name of the company that release a lot of Blu-rays?
Oh, Criterion.
Criterion, on the Criterion channel, he has a
Yeah.
YouTube where they pick and choose Blu-rays and the DVDs for the Criterion channel. Such great choices, man. Him and his daughter. Such great
the way
choices.
he just like presents himself and explains things and says things is so like earnest and like deep and interesting, and I'm just like, I will marry you here on the spot, kind of thing.
That's the one, Bruce, Criterion Closet. That's the one. Yeah. And Maya Hawke is one of the main reasons why I really enjoyed this film, because she brings so much energy and such a unique tang to her voice as Anxiety. And I don't know Maya Hawke personally, but I think she's the kind of person who does suffer from a bit of anxiety, because she's just too good in this. She's just too good at portraying anxiety. She's excellent. She's excellent. Phyllis Smith as Sadness, adorable as ever.
Yeah.
I loved her in the first one, and I love her in the second one as well. And the whole voice cast is just really good. I just wanted to point out those two. And Amy Poehler as well as Joy brings the joy to the film. It's just a really, really really good voice cast overall.
Yeah.
Aya Dabiri as MV also very good.
I did like, even though they didn't get to say that much, I did like the inclusion of Adele Exarchopoulos as Ennui.
Yes, Ennui. I love that. That's a French person there.
Yeah.
So good. But yes, obviously the animation, nothing to say. It's Pixar. It's good, very good. I love some of the twists they bring to the animation as well. There's a video game character.
Yes,
with the jagged edges, edges as well.
I mentioned that in my review. I thought that was very clever when they did that.
I laughed so much when he started to roll and bump.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Laughing out loud. I don't know why the other people in the cinema weren't laughing. I was like, this is so funny. No, I was the only one laughing out loud in that scene. And the 2D character was good as well. What's the name of the pouch? I'm pouchy.
Yeah.
Pouchy the pouch. That was good as well. The plot itself is quite predictable, because it's pretty much, again, a more or less a retread of the first one, where they're exploring different parts of the brain, I guess.
Yeah.
What are they? I guess,
Her
right?
psyche, I suppose.
Her psyche, yeah. And again, excellent visual portrayal of, what were they? There was the brainstorm.
Yeah.
And what was the chasm? Sarcasm.
Yeah.
So good. So good. It's like this is good stuff. Like,
Yeah.
this is the kind of stuff that kids will enjoy and grown-ups will enjoy. Like, everyone can enjoy this, right? So to conclude, a return to form for Pixar for me. Very well. Kelsey Mann, I don't think she's directed anything so far that I know. Writer on The Good Dinosaur.
Well, controversial. I like The Good Dinosaur.
It's okay. It's okay.
I think it's a pleasant little time.
Fair enough. Yep. But yes, very good. Give more stuff to Kelsey Mann. She's made a really good job here. I gave Inside Out a 4 out of 5. Joe, what did you give it? Remind me.
I think closer to a 3.5. I gave it.
Okay. Fair enough. So that's my really short thoughts on Inside Out 2. What shall we do next, Joe?
I'm happy to go with Longlegs. I'm happy for you to go with Fly Me to the Moon, whichever you like.
Let me get through Fly Me to the Moon. You can do Longlegs, and then I'll conclude with Horizon, because that's my longest review, I think. So, Fly Me to the Moon, it's... I was surprised with this, because having watched the trailer, my dad turned to me after watching the trailer with me, and he's like, is this a real film? Like, this does not look like a real film.
I was going to say, it feels like, in like some films where they put like a fake movie in it. It feels like that fake movie.
Exactly. My teeth. Banging my teeth, my front tooth.
I've done that a couple of times with my bottle.
I agree completely. It looked like a fake film. I agreed completely with my dad. It looked like a fake film, like one of those fake films. Like, this is just like Rebel Moon was like the fake film in that... I'm so bad with names. The fake film in the Stuntman film.
Give me a hint. Oh, in
the Fall Guy. This looked like a fake film in a rom-com.
Yeah.
But turns out it's a real film, and turns out it's actually a very good real film. I was shocked. I was shocked to how much I enjoyed my time with this film. And in my review on Letterboxd, I call this year's Air.
That makes me think I'm not going to like it.
I called it this year's Air, and I am so happy making this statement. I know, Joe, you weren't the biggest fan of Air.
Air was fine. It was fine. It was a massive circle jerk, but it was fine.
I really liked Air. Now, obviously, most films that focus either on the moon or on NASA or like traveling into space usually focus on the psyche and the psychological element of the astronauts, on the family, right? That was First Man was mostly on the family, like Ryan Gosling and who was his wife in First Man? The Queen.
Yes,
from
I know.
Crown.
Claire Foy,
right? There was that. Moon, which was very good as well. Same thing.
I love Moon.
I love Moon as well. The soundtrack on Moon is so good. Oh, such a good soundtrack and so well shot. Apollo 13, which is, I guess, a guilty pleasure of myself, right?
That's a good film, Apollo 13.
It's a good film. Ron Howard. It's a very good film, actually. But I know not everyone is a fan of it. But I personally really enjoyed Apollo 13 as well. One of those teenage films that I really enjoyed growing up. They all focus on the psychological element of the astronauts itself. So, and Fly Me to the Moon is not that, right? Fly Me to the Moon does not focus at all on the astronauts. They appear here and there, but Fly Me to the Moon takes a drastically different approach. And the screenplay by, let me look up his name, Rose Gilroy, from a story by Bill Kirstein and Keenan Flynn, turns this into more of a rom-com with a bit of drama here and there. And the main focus here is on Scarlett Johansson's character. Her character's name is Kelly Jones, who we see introduced in basically the first scene of the film, first actual scene of the film after the whole montage of going to the moon and whatnot. We see her selling a Mustang to the Ford group, right? And we see how talented she is as an advertiser. It's reminding me a little bit of Mad Men, If you've watched Mad Men, Joe, I don't know if you've watched.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of Mad Men. Yeah.
Remind me quite a bit of that. And we see, obviously, clearly she's very talented at selling and at advertising. So what happens is she's approached by Woody Harrelson, who is one of my favorites in this film. His character's name is Mo Burkus, and he asks Scarlett Johansson's character to sell the moon to the American people. And basically, the situation is that by the end of the 1960s, the majority of the American people have lost faith in NASA. There were a lot of failed attempts. You had the case, obviously, of I believe it was it 9, Apollo 9, where 3 astronauts were killed in a test flight.
I think so, yeah.
And basically the majority of the American people and many senators didn't want their tax money going to NASA, wanted it going either to the war, obviously there's a Vietnam War going on, or to other situations, right? Enter Channing Tatum's character, and when I saw Channing Tatum as this like genius engineer, I was like, really?
Yeah, it could be a tough sell.
Really? He's good. He's good.
He's a good actor. I'm a big fan of his.
He's good. And I'm so happy. I saw a review on Letterboxd. I was like, I'm just happy Channing Tatum is in a real film again.
Yeah.
I agree completely. He needs to be in more real films. So that's the general plot line, right? And so we get the whole dynamic between Channing Tatum's character and Scarlett Johansson's character. Channing Tatum being the engineer, the main engineer on Apollo 10, and Scarlett Johansson's character trying to, advertise the Apollo 10, while Channing Tatum's character is very stubborn and doesn't really enjoy, doesn't approve of what's happening here. It's a long film. It's 132 minutes long.
Yeah, 2 hours and 12 minutes is pretty long for a film of this kind.
For a rom-com, it's for me, it was like, whoa, really?
Yeah.
It was a breeze. Honestly, Joe, watching it, there were like 1 or 2 moments, tiny moments where like, okay, we're bugging, slowing down a bit too much here. And there's a number of reasons why the film felt like a breeze. First of all, I have to mention one of the most impressive things of this film was the editing. Such crisp, such great editing, and very, very interesting, very, different editing, which was great, which was really good to see. So very well edited film. The actors, the performances really help, especially Scarlett Johansson, who gives such a confident performance here in her character. Such a confident performance. She just pulls you into the film. And the whole film in general has this like really feel-good vibe, similar to what Air had, right? Like this feel-good vibe where you've just got these really good actors showing off, and you're like, just feel-good film, which just flies by. 2 hours fly by, which is great. And you've got fucking Woody Harrelson as having the time of his life as the antagonist here, as the shady antagonist Mo. Such a fun performance. Jim Rash as well as the director. He's so good. He's the director directing the fake moon landing, and this such a fun performance. In one scene, Scarlett Johansson's like, it's just so funny. Her lines are so funny. Scarlett Johansson gets the best lines in this film, by far. Just some of the best lines. And she gets one line where she's like, "I think we should have gotten Stanley Kubrick."
Yeah, I remember that was in the trailer.
Yeah, and just really funny, really funny. Like I said, really slick editing really helps. And the production design, I have to mention the visuals. I understand why this film had a box office, had a budget, of 100 million. The production design is on point, which leads me to the issue of, is this movie going to make its money back? I doubt it, because it's made 20 million on its opening weekend. So I doubt it's going to make its money back. If this released 15, 20 years ago, it would have made a lot of money. Coming out in this kind of environment, just like Air, it's not going to make its money back. But if it's an Apple TV Plus show, and Apple TV can afford to lose money as long as it comes to their streaming service and people pay for their streaming service, which is
and pay for their extremely expensive electronics.
Exactly, which is why I'm happy that Apple TV Plus has entered the whole entertainment business because they're releasing stuff like, fair enough, Napoleon wasn't great. Still, they put in a lot of film money into that. Killers of the Flower Moon.
Killers of the Flower Moon because of them, yeah.
Air, Fly Me to the Moon, all watchable films.
Did they win the Best Picture Oscar before Netflix? I believe they did, yes?
Yes, they did.
They won it for Coda.
For Coda, yes. Sorry, Air was Amazon. Air was Amazon. But it's a breeze, very watchable film. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. Maybe I'm being a bit kind to it, but I had a really good time. I had a blast watching it.
I'll definitely catch it when it comes to Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, definitely.
At the moment, I'm a little bit broke, so I'm going to watch things which I feel like are going to be a bit more worth my money.
It's I wouldn't say it's a must-watch in the cinema. I'd say if you're looking for a breezy film, support this film. Right? It's a film made with a lot of heart. The actors are really giving their all in this. You know, Scarlett Johansson is producing this as well, which is one of the main reasons I think why she's so into her role. But yes, very watchable film. It's a breeze. 3.5 out of 5 for me. Joe, want to get into Longlegs?
I will.
And,
I will.
Before you get into it, Joe, viewers and listeners, Joe is going to talk about Longlegs now, but for a more detailed review, make sure to check his review on his channel, Joe Paolella, and here is his channel. Let me bring up his channel. Hello, internet. Here is his review. Check out Joe's full review. No spoilers, right, Joe?
No, I stay clear of spoilers in all my reviews.
Yeah. Joe's spoiler-free review of Longlegs, which I really liked, by the way. Joe, really great review.
Forgive my terrible setup. I'm still trying to figure it out in my new place, but I will get there.
Like I mentioned in the comment, Joe, I really liked the technical aspects of the film, the fact that you focused on those.
Yeah.
So make sure to go leave a like. Make sure to go leave a comment on Joe's review.
Yeah.
This is your latest, right?
My latest.
This is your latest review. The previous one was Maxine. Yeah. So yeah, Joe. What did you think about Longlegs?
Longlegs. There's a lot been said about this film recently. Like, particularly my Twitter is now all just stuff referring to Longlegs, whether it's people praising certain moments or people using stills from the film, particularly that one there on that poster of Maika Monroe looking very shocked, in out of context ways and making them funny. I'll start off by saying that this film has one of the best marketing campaigns in recent years. Mm-hmm. And it should be a lesson to, I guess I would call them Neon's rival studio in what they tend to do, is they make pretty similar films, to A24. Because A24 have a kind of habit of, they're a bit too cool for marketing, you know? Mm-hmm. But marketing is important, and especially when you want films to do well. Now, to start up with this film, we don't know its actual budget. We know it is under 10 million, but it apparently costs somewhere in about 3 million to make this film. Over the weekend...
3 million?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Over the weekend, this film made $22 million. And that is astounding for an original horror film, which is not connected to anything else. So I just want to, praise it for that. The marketing behind it is good. I was someone who didn't really buy into the marketing wholeheartedly because I mentioned in my review, I don't like to watch trailers very often, especially for horror films. I feel like they ruin it. This had a very good first trailer, it just made me more interested in the film. Mm-hmm. I didn't watch anything since, but now they're doing stuff like showing Maika Monroe reacting to Nicolas Cage's character in the film, which is hooked up to a heart rate monitor in it. Incredible marketing. Mm-hmm. They deserve everything they're going to get. But I'll get into the actual film. So Longlegs. New horror film from, it's written and directed by Osgood Perkins, and people will know that name after Anthony Perkins, who is his father, who played Norman Bates in Psycho. So obviously huge horror legacy over here. Now, what surprised me about this isn't Osgood Perkins' first film. He's got a couple of others, none of which I have actually seen, but ones I have heard of, particularly The Black Coat's Daughter. Now, what I have heard about those films are, they are not perfect, but they're very interesting. And I plan to go and watch all of them now. Because watching this film, and I said it in my review, it is so clear from the get-go that there is someone behind this who is totally in charge of every decision that is being shown on screen. And in all films, that is important, but especially in horror, I feel. So to talk about a little bit about the plot, you have this FBI agent played by Maika Monroe, playing Agent Lee Harker, and she gets put onto this investigation trying to find this serial killer called Longlegs. And there's a lot of like different threads to do with it, of like why these killings are happening and the connections to them. I'm not going to spoil a single detail on that because the film is very good at drip feeding you the details that you need as you need them. And you literally feel like as you watch this film, I'm sure people have seen the typical thing of like a big kind of like, I've got one back there, a corkboard over there with loads of pictures on them and different pieces of threads and needles like going into. That's what this film does throughout, where you start in the center, you've got Longlegs, and then one thread goes this way and one thread goes that way. And it all branches out and you start to learn more. But the whole time, from moment one of this film, from the opening title, at least in my screening, one packed screening, which was great. This is one of the best cinematic experiences I have had in the UK as a whole, because everyone was locked in, everyone was in it. People were reacting when they needed to. No one was on their fucking phones. No one was eating too loudly. And there's just this feeling from moment one of something is not right. And that just continues for the whole film. And with each unfurling scene, it just keeps going, something is not right here. Something is not right here. Even more is not right here. As things just keep going and going and going. And that's the biggest thing about this film. It is definitely more of a thriller, like a procedural thriller. To describe how it unfolds, it would unfold similar to, and it has been compared to this incessantly in its marketing, to Silence of the Lambs meets Zodiac.
Exactly.
It is definitely much more of that FBI procedural investigation thriller, but it becomes a horror because of that unsettling feeling throughout. Like the feeling I can describe that I had is, Andrea, are you familiar with Zodiac, like off the top of your head?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The basement scene in Zodiac.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Imagine that, but for an hour and 40 minutes. Where it is constantly just like, what the fuck is going on? Okay, we've got new information, but that just makes everything else more complicated. What the fuck is going on? And you're just going to keep going in those circles. And then to go on to the technical aspects that I praised in my review is the unique use of lenses in this film. A lot of horror nowadays, especially if it's, I guess, like more mainstream stuff. And I hate using the term elevated horror because it's just nonsense, because there has been great horror films every year, like since the 1950s. You just have to find them. So elevated horror does not exist. There's like, it's just horror. And I guess it may be horror that takes itself maybe a bit more seriously, but to me, that is what good horror is. But the use of lenses...
With directors like Dario Argento, for example,
exactly.
Like how you cannot say
exactly
that horror has fair enough. The 80s, 70s, 80s was, again, peak.
I have always said, though, the biggest sure thing in filmmaking when it comes to a genre of film to make is horror, because people are going to watch it. And there's always been good stuff there. It hasn't had like a slump like superhero movies are happening right now. If you look in the right places, you will find great shit. You can't go and look for great superhero films coming out,
Just off the top of my head, when you think of the 20s, you think of Nosferatu, for example.
Yeah.
When you think of the 30s, you think of Frankenstein.
Exactly.
And, so 60s, you've got The Birds, for example.
Yeah, you've got Rosemary's Baby.
Rosemary's Baby, exactly. So
You know?
every decade has
5 or 6 great horror
massive
films.
horror films.
Exactly.
Then we go into Jaws, and then we go into
Exactly. And then you get into Halloween, and then you get into The Thing, and it's why it's my favorite genre overall, because it's just great across the board. But again, this did something unique, and I was going to say a lot of, I guess, more mainstream horror films, they tend to think that you need to keep the camera really close to your subjects. And you need that claustrophobia, and you need to use a long lens, and it needs to be a close-up.
Exactly.
And something needs to pop in to that frame really quickly to scare you. A lot of this film is shot on extremely wide-angle lenses. And when I say like extremely wide angle, I mean like 12 to 14 millimeters. Now, a lot of people might not know what that means, but it's the kind of lens where when something is in the middle of the frame, which he does a lot in this film, he likes to keep his subject centered rather than a lot of the classic technique is the rule of thirds, where you either put something on the left side of the frame or the right side of the frame. He likes it in the center. But because it's in the center and because of the lens, they look a lot bigger than they should, and they look very strange. And then the corners look even more ominous. So half the time, when the character of Lee Harker is in the middle of the frame, you are darting around the screen going like, okay, like where the fuck is something going to pop out and where am I going to miss something?
Which is generally a technique used in comedies, right?
Yes. And it's just that there's a certain scene where she's at a desk and she's looking through something, and the camera holds on her in the center of the frame for a solid minute. But there's a doorway behind her to her kitchen, and it's the most menacing doorway I've ever seen in a film without even having to do anything. And that's why I say Osgood Perkins has the goods and he knows what he's doing. And there's some really unique camera work in general of the way he's moving the camera and choosing to position it. And then we get down to the Nicolas Cage of it all. It is no spoiler to say that Nicolas Cage is playing the titular Longlegs in this film. And now, like many films of this kind of, I guess, genre, you do get a kind of reveal for Longlegs, but not in the way that you expect. And it's fantastic. The Nicolas Cage is having one of the best careers at the moment, with stuff like Pig, and even what he was doing in the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent was fantastic as well.
Good.
What he did in Dream Scenario was fantastic as well. In Mandy, this is a guy to a lot of people. They go like, that's that guy who does the over the top performances and like really dumb movies. And yes, he has. And granted, I'm probably a little bit biased because I love Nicolas Cage when he's really good, because he's normally great. And I also love him when he's going for it way too much and he's a bit silly.
He's always committed. That's what I would say. I would say.
To me, he is one of the best working actors, one of the most talented working actors. And what he does here with the character of Longlegs is, if you took some of the scenes that he has in this film and you added maybe a different soundtrack or a different coloring to them and just certain things he says, they are bonkers, batshit wild, and they could be hilarious. Like he is almost doing a caricature of other characters he has played. Like where there are moments where like he's just like screaming things out and he's very teethy and stuff. But because of the context in this film, because of what Longlegs is about as a character, it is so sinister. And the way they make him look, and the best thing that the marketing has done has not actually shown you what this guy looks like. So you create this mystique, and when you finally find out what he looks like, it's just all like, this is one of the most unsettling things I've ever seen, without even doing all that much. Like I was listening to one of the podcasts I listened to, The Big Picture, hosted by Sean Fennessy. Shout out to Ben, probably my favorite film podcast that there is. The host, Sean Fennessy, huge horror fan, like myself, I guess, tends to not really get scared of things, but unsettled. But he said why he appreciated Longlegs so much is that he was having a night after watching it where he just couldn't really sleep properly. His wife was asleep, his baby was asleep. And he said he was in that kind of like liminal state where you're trying really hard to sleep, but your eyes are kind of like flickering a bit and you're just about to fall asleep. And for some reason, the image of Longlegs' face popped into his head. And he said at that moment, he like bolted upright and he like looked around his dark room. And he was like, for some reason, I just feel really, really on edge right now. And because that's what this film does. Its power of imagery is like anything I have seen in horror since maybe Midsummer. Of what it does with still images. Now, I'm obviously gushing about this film. I had said in my review, to me, it is the best film of the year. For me, for someone who loves horror and wants this kind of film, easily the best film of the year. It is not going to be that for everyone. And this is where I'm going to say the marketing is going to be a little bit to blame in this regard. Because it is being compared to stuff like The Silence of the Lambs or to Zodiac, but it is at the same time so different from those in the subject matter it takes on, and also the way it decides to unfold, and especially the way it decides to end. I feel like a lot of people are going to be frustrated at the ending. I was not. For me, it does open up the question of, could they continue this? They definitely could continue this story.
Okay.
But also, if they don't continue it, I like that there's that ambiguity. And there's enough details there where you could make up your mind about what they could be doing if they decide to do a second one. But like, it's tough for me to talk about it without going into spoilers now. What a shout out I will give. I'm going to say Osgood Perkins must have definitely played the Alan Wake games, particularly Alan Wake.
I've heard that.
Because the way he's making characters look and the way flashlights look and the way he uses dark in this film is straight out of those games. And even the way he's using imagery at certain points is straight out of those games. And I could be wrong, and he's just stumbled onto this technique by himself. But I think that's definitely it. And that's another point I'll make about the darkness. It actually, like, I know, like, you, Franco, and I, we joke a lot, like, when I go and see a film which isn't coming out in Malta, and I like give you guys a little bit of shit for it to make you guys jealous. This is one where I know you guys love this genre, and it will be fucking terrible that you can't sit in a dark room with a big screen for this film. And that's, I'm always the guy who pushes go see films in the cinema. It's what they were made for. It's how you should see them. But this is one, because it is so dark, you need that contrast. And
I have an OLED TV though, so
which is great, but it helps. As you said, it is never going to be the same.
So Malajo.
No,
at least comparing my television to the quality I see in multi-cinemas.
Yes, but
if it weren't just for the size, I'd prefer my television.
That is talking about multi-cinemas as a whole, though, as well, which is another.
To be fair, Spazio Creative have a really impressive quality.
Yes, I was delighted with them when I went.
Really impressive quality. So, you know what I think about that place, but with regard to the quality,
I can't believe
nothing
now with how popular this film has become, that no cinemas are going to pick this up.
Same here. This and Maxine. Like, I don't get how they don't release these in Malta.
Maxine, I kind of get.
But Pearl and X were really big hit. Not big hits, but I mean...
Did those release in Malta, though?
No, they did not. But, I mean, especially after Pearl.
I understand them not showing the third film in a series of films that have not previously released in the country. This one I can't understand, because this is now, as it stands, one of the biggest films in the world. Currently. You know, it essentially, comparatively, won the box office over the weekend. It is everywhere on social media. And again, it is a horror film. People will go watch it. No matter what. And it just feels, I had a conversation with James on Prickly Pears the other day in the comment section on something, where we don't really get good adult drama anymore. You know, it's not really a risk Hollywood is willing to take, unless it's connected to some big form of IP. And this is not. This is fully original horror. It is not based on anything. aimed at adults solely, and in my mind, it is fantastic. I went and listened to an interview with Osgood Perkins after, and you would think he's someone that's very fascinated by serial killers. He hates these true crime documentaries and he calls it the glorification of serial killers.
I hate them as well. I can't stand them.
He doesn't like that Zodiac has a film about it and stuff like that.
Really?
But, yes. But then he likes to. That's why with this he just created his own.
Did they ask him about Memories of a Murder? Because that's like one of the biggest ones. Where, like literally the killer watched that film.
He respects the filmmaking in it, but he thinks that they're a problem for us as a society, that we kind of indirectly then glorify these things by going to watch them.
The documentaries, I agree, and even something like Dahmer, for example, I'm not the biggest fan because it's just Netflix cashing on a genre which is clearly very popular, but also problematic.
That's the part that he hates, where it's a big cash cow for stuff like this.
Same here.
He likes his goal with this was to create his own serial killer, to delve into the seedier parts of people's psyche. And there's a lot of theories going around about this film, about what it's actually about, and they're all very good. And I love sinking into these things. And I hope everyone can watch it. If you're a fan of thrillers or horrors in the slightest, go see it if you can. Again, for me, the best film of the year.
Wow.
Like it was one where as soon as it finished, I was like, you could have turned that on again immediately. And I would have sat there for another hour and 40 minutes.
Nice. Okay. I'm jealous. Very, very jealous. As we go and get to see this in Malta, at least we've not gotten to see it so far in Malta. Probably it'll have to be either a Blu-ray or a streaming.
I plan to get the 4K Blu-ray the day it releases of this one. Surely we can write like a letter to Spatsu or someone and be like, look, this is the biggest horror film in the world at the moment. Please show it.
One can hope. All right, and with that, we'll conclude with Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1. And like we mentioned, Joe, my girlfriend just got a bottle like yours. That's
This?
The bottle. That's from Shismo, from good Lord.
I got this for £1.50 from Primark.
From Primark. That's the Primark bottle, the classic Primark bottle. Yeah. It's enormous. It's like, what, 1 liter, I think?
That's a liter, yeah. It's a good bottle.
Yeah. Because we've just been to Primark last week. That's why, because we were abroad. Okay. We were in Sicily. So
it's where all the Maltese go when they're abroad. Yep. If there's a Primark, that's where they're going.
I mean, if it was up to me, we wouldn't have gone, but obviously, you know how it is.
Yeah.
Horizon, an American Saga, Chapter 1, very long title. Chapter 1 of possibly a 4-part movie anthology, if Kevin Costner will be allowed to make it. Because, well, let's start off from the beginning, right? This was released, I believe, at Cannes Film Festival, and the first reactions were mixed, to put it
lightly.
Lightly, yeah. Some of the critics were like, yes, it's ambitious. The majority were like, this is a complete mess. This is a shit film. This is not even a film. And I think that was a bit harsh, to be perfectly honest. Now, important to mention that part 2 was supposed, like you mentioned, Joe, was supposed to release in August, I believe August, September, something like that. But close to the release of the first one. But it has been pulled from the theaters, completely pulled from the theaters. And right now, New Line Cinema have not even announced a new date for it. And here's the new announcement. Territory Pictures and New Line Cinema have decided not to release Horizon Chapter 2 on August 16th. Yeah, it's August 16th, in order to give audiences a greater opportunity to discover the first installment of Horizon over the coming weeks. Because basically no one went to watch it in the cinema. Literally no one went to watch it. Earning a total of $11 million against the $100 million budget, which is shocking to say the least. This is a problem, right? This is a problem.
Yeah.
Costner put in tens of millions of his own dollars into it. They're currently shooting the third installment, with the second one already concluded, and this is an issue, right? Now, I'm going to review this as someone who, whilst not disliking Westerns, actually quite enjoy Westerns. For some reason, it's my big blind side in my films I've watched. 8 out of 10 Westerns you'll mention, I haven't watched. I've watched
the Dollars trilogy.
Yes, I've watched those. Okay. I've watched the big ones, like the Sergio Leone ones, the big Sergio Leone ones. Mm-hmm. I've watched a couple of Costner ones, coincidentally. Dance with the Wolves.
Yeah.
I watched a couple of the modern ones. There was the really good Christian Bale one, Hostiles.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
310 to Yuma, the original and the new one as well, I've watched.
Yeah. In a Valley of Violence by West. I don't think anyone has seen that.
No, I haven't watched that, no. But maybe there was a Netflix one. What the hell was the Netflix one with the short films? Buster Scruggs.
Oh yeah, Ballad of Buster
Scruggs. That was really good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Tell me you've seen at least the Coen Brothers remake of True Grit.
No, I have not. No, it's like I said, that's a big blind side.
But I have a thing for westerns because my dad loved them. So
yeah, my dad was never the biggest fan of westerns. So
my dad loved westerns, still does.
So it's a big reason why. It's something I have to fix this summer, of course. But yeah, so I went into Horizon and American Saga with maybe it'll be good. I really like Dance with the Wolves. I don't know why that movie got a bit of criticism. More because of the budget, I believe, right? More because of the budget.
Yeah, and
like a big Hail Mary.
There was another film that year which probably should have won Best Picture, but it escapes me as to what that was.
95, that was?
Something like that.
Something early 90s. Early mid-90s. It got a lot of awards at the Oscars, that I remember. But yeah, anyways. So this is just to put you into the picture of, I'm not the massive Western fan like I am with horrors, for example. Or historical dramas and fiction and whatnot. So, safe to say that this is a really ambitious piece of cinema by Kevin Costner. Let me bring it up on IMDb really quickly. This is a massive, massive film. Really ambitious. It's 3 hours long, and after 3 hours, you basically feel like you've watched maximum 20% of the actual story, which is a problem, of course, because it's 3 hours long. And you've watched maximum, not more than 20% of the story. That's what it feels like. And this is exacerbated even more because this is not really a spoiler, but at the end, you get a whole montage for 4 or 5 minutes of scenes which are probably going to be in the second film.
It was
a very weird choice.
It was Goodfellas it was up against for Best Picture. And
it was what?
It was Dances with Wolves versus Goodfellas for Best Picture at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably should have been Goodfellas.
Okay, that's why I remember it getting a lot of hate.
Yeah.
I think it should have been Goodfellas, I think.
Yeah.
I think everyone would agree on that.
I think we all agree now.
Fuck. Okay, anyways. I respect Costner, though. I respect Kevin Costner, though.
Yeah, he's trying to do something he loves. So.
And I respect him for what he did here. Because he put his money into a project. He's giving a big middle finger to Yellowstone with this. Where he's like, fuck you guys, I can do this too. But people watch Yellowstone. People haven't watched Horizon and American Saga Chapter 1, which is also an issue. Anyways, let's get into it. So this is obviously directed and produced by Kevin Costner. He co-wrote this with John Baird. And there are, I believe, a total of 4 storylines here, which mix and match here. After an hour, a new storyline comes in, and then an hour later, that old storyline pops back up. That's another issue, right? Some storylines are ignored for an hour or completely forgotten at times and then brought back onto the screen. And that breaks the pacing at times, right? Pacing is a big issue with this film, and it's 3 hours long. The storylines are the following. So the first storyline is focused on the community in Horizon, which includes one of the main characters. Frances Kittredge, who together with her daughter and her whole family, their community is attacked by Apache raiders. A young boy is sent to get help from the army to help the community. Later on, this boy, together with some of the survivors from the attack, go for revenge, go scalp hunting, basically, which is something which was a big deal with the Apaches, of course. So that's two storylines there, basically, because you've got the community trying to recover and rebuild and with the army, and the survivors going for revenge. That's two different storylines. An hour into the film, and honestly, I really wasn't like, wait, where's Kevin Costner's character? But an hour into the film, Kevin Costner suddenly appears, and it's snowing, so it's a completely different setting. And we're in Wyoming. We're in Wyoming territory. It's a mountainous region, and Kevin Costner's character enters, Hayes Ellison, and he meets Marigold, who is a prostitute, who lives with Ellen Harvey and her husband. Anyways, long story short, this character with whom the prostitute lived, Ellen, her previous name was Lucy, and she had, and we see this the very first scene of the film. She had shot James Syke, who is, I really didn't get it, but I believe he's like the father of a family of criminals, of this like gang. Anyways, he doesn't die, James doesn't die, but his sons are out for revenge. And so they are looking for, I already forgot her name. Ellen.
Yeah, this is very convoluted already. This is an hour into the film.
Yes. So there's the storyline, and obviously then the prostitute Marigold, and ends up taking care of Lucy's son, Ellen's son, and Kevin Costner's character takes care of them. Anyways, then there's another storyline which appears at least like 2 hours into the film, or at least 1 hour 30, 1 hour 40 minutes into the film. And this is a whole wagon train of people on the way to Horizon who, and we've got this really, really annoying British couple, Juliet and Hugh, who they can see the others working, and they're like, oh no, I'm going to paint my picture because I am British, and oh no, I won't get my boots dirty here. No, thank you very much. And, it's really overdone. And I'm like, what the fuck? Just shoot them in the head and get rid of these characters, please. But they make for good, kind of like not minor antagonists, but just like annoying characters to hate on in a way. And that's another plot line, right? Going on. So 4 big plot lines, and not to mention the Apaches, because then we get the Apache side of things. Where obviously obviously they are justified in being scared of the Americans coming into their land, ruining their hunting grounds, hunting their own people. And obviously they want to respond. So we get the point of view of the Apaches as well. So these are all different storylines, all different characters appearing in this film. Now, credit where credit's due. During the film, I never felt confused with all these storylines. Okay, so credit where credit's due. I never felt confused. The settings are clearly very different. You've got Wyoming, which is a very mountainous, snowy region, and obviously the San Jose Valley. Yeah, San Jose Valley, I believe, where most of this is taking place. The characters are more or less very obvious caricatures, but in a certain sense that helps. Because, you're like, okay, that's the woman who needs protection, right? This is a very old-fashioned film. That's the cowboy who's come to help. That's the child who needs to be protected. They're all caricatures of the classic conventional Western characters. But it's, like you said, Joe, it's very convoluted. So many different plot lines. And it's 3 hours of basically introducing all these different plot lines. That's the film. With some positives, because most of the opening hour of this film is this beautifully shot raid on the community in Horizon by the Apaches, and Costner does not hold back. There is one scene, and maybe a slight spoiler here, but I'm not going to give like specifics, but there we see a suicide bombing in this with a whole family. And it's shocking. It's really shocking where me and my friend, we were watching this together. We both turned towards each other. We're like, holy shit, they just went there. And like, that is really brave to show today. Really, really brave. So it's shocking. It's brutal. Nothing is hidden. It's bloody. It's massive. It's beautifully shot. It's tense. It's really impressively done. But it does sometimes feel like a lot of beautiful set pieces with an incredibly convoluted set of different plot lines, where you're enjoying the different set pieces. There's another really good set piece where we have a standoff between Kevin Costner's character and one of the sons who want revenge. And it's beautifully portrayed, beautifully shot, really tense, great dialogue as well. So great set pieces, but the threads linking these different set pieces together are a bit weak, are quite weak actually. So there's that issue. It's shot in a very interesting ratio. It's a 1:85 ratio, which as far as I know is usually used more for TV than cinema. It makes a bit of sense here, because even when you see it in the cinema, the screen is bigger. Like the image you see is bigger even in the cinema. So this is a film of beautiful vistas. And the film and the camera's work takes full advantage of this, right? And I looked it up. That's the exact reason why they chose to go with this ratio, where you got all these beautiful vistas, and you just get more into the screen. It's a beautiful film. I'll give it that. It's a really beautiful film. To conclude, impressive set pieces, but it's a weird film to review because it feels like it's just part one, episode one of a really, really, really long series.
Yeah.
Right? A 3-hour long episode one. Again, it's impressively done, impressively shot, great set pieces, great tension at times, but holy shit, it's long. It's really long. And to conclude, this is a quote from Costner where he says that Horizon is a journey. It's not a plot movie. And I can admire that and I can appreciate that. And admittedly, I would be lying if I said that both me and my friend didn't have a very good time at the cinema. I had a good time at the cinema. But at times, it does really bog down. It does really, really bog down. And again, the fact that it feels like I haven't watched a whole story. I just watched like the opening episode of a story is a bit annoying. Again, exacerbated by the fact that, at the end we get like a 3-4 minute montage of what's coming up in the next chapter, in chapter 2.
That's weird.
Which is weird.
That's very strange. Do you think it might have worked better as a television series?
100%. 100%. But it would be a pity because you don't get to watch this in the cinema.
Yeah.
Which is where this is clearly must be watched. Right? This must be watched in the cinemas. No one's going to watch it at the cinemas, which is a pity, but this must be watched in the cinema. It's a very old-fashioned film. It's a very 90s, 80s film. No historical revisionism here taking place. It's all, the classic. The man takes care of the woman.
Yeah.
And the Apaches are attacking the white people. It's all very, old-fashioned storytelling. But it's a fun watch. Listen, I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy this. I had a good time with this. I had a very good time with this. But it has a lot of issues. Am I looking forward to the second Horizon? Yes. From what we saw in the montage, very much so. Because it looks like there's going to be a lot of action in the second Horizon film. But will it be released? I don't know. I doubt it's going to be released in cinemas. I seriously doubt that. So we'll see. It's a big, big pity. I gave Horizon American Saga Chapter 1 a 3.5 out of 5. Probably, again, being a bit too kind with it. Just like with Fly Me to the Moon, could have given it a 3.
From audiences, it seems to be getting pretty decent reactions.
Critics were very harsh on this, though. That's true. Like on IMDb, it's got a 7.1.
Yeah, which seems fair.
I think a lot of people, I think the mainstream audience really like old-fashioned storytelling.
Yeah, and it's not like we also just don't really get westerns anymore. So,
and yes, that's another thing. Now again, I'm not the biggest western fan, so I'm not going to be here saying like, oh, I miss all the westerns because I never really watched much anyways. But just watching this is a great time. This is a great time. So looking at Rotten Tomatoes, Joe, it's got a 47% critic tomato rating and 71% audience score. I'm more on the side of the audience with this, to be perfectly honest. I think critics probably approach this in a more of a
critical way, I guess.
Critical way in the sense of the plot lines are really muddled, and again, more from a, I guess, critical race theory approach of it all.
Yeah.
Where and again, also the issue of having the white man taking care of a woman today feels a little old-fashioned.
Yeah.
And I guess critics approach it from that point of view.
It's a western as well, so.
But it's a western, and then it's not pretending to be this like postmodern takedown of the western genre.
It's a western from a man who loves old-fashioned westerns, who's a white guy as well. Like, I don't think we should really be expecting anyone to push the envelope. Who
starred in the most conservative series ever for like 5 seasons, Yellowstone.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know what they expected out of this. But yeah, it's a good time. It's a good time, and it's a 3.5 from myself. And with that, Joe, I think we can conclude this episode. It's been a good time as always. Joe, had a lot of films to talk about this week. Next week we'll have Twisters to talk about.
Yeah, we got into it. I apologize for rambling in my Longlegs review. I didn't really want to, but I couldn't help it.
No worries. I was rambling with my Horizon plot summary.
Yeah, but I mean, I was doing an hour and 40-minute procedural horror film. You were doing a 3-hour Western epic.
Fair enough. Wow, there's so many plots, like ridiculous. I think Twisters is the only film we have coming out, right? This weekend?
Yeah, I should be seeing it on Friday.
Oh, and Thelma's coming out as well in Malta.
I don't know. That should be coming out here. I'll have a look for it.
Thelma's coming out as well here in Malta. I've heard some good stuff about it. So that'll be fun to watch as well. But yeah.
And there's something quite big the week after, isn't there, as well?
Oh, there's Deadpool and Wolverine.
Is that the week after?
Yes, that's the 25th of July.
Oh, fuck.
Yep. By the way, viewers and listeners, I can announce it now, basically. For the Deadpool and Wolverine episode, where it's good, we're going to have him on the show. Because we're going to have Ashley Pashel on the show.
I think we should do it either way, even if it's bad.
What do you mean, Joe?
Like, even if Deadpool and Wolverine is really bad, we should still have Ashley on the show.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Because I know Ashley's a big fan of Deadpool. I'm okay with Deadpool.
We have a chance to butt heads here on this.
Yes. That's why I'm saying it's a good thing that he's coming on the show. Because I'm okay. I liked the first Deadpool. I thought the second Deadpool was meh.
Yeah, I thought the second Deadpool was aggressively okay.
Yeah, aggressively average. Exactly. So it'll be good to have someone who's more of a Marvel fan.
But there's me, the biggest Marvel fan ever on this show.
And get a different point of view. Although we do have Joe, like you said, Joe, who is the biggest Marvel fan ever.
Yes, obviously. Like, come on, guys. I've obviously seen the entire Infinity Saga like 7 times over.
I watched it twice, though.
I didn't.
It's good. It's good, Joe. It's for what it is very good. Actually,
I will always give them props for the arc that they created for the Infinity Saga. Was as a whole very
Infinity War is
impressive.
a miracle, in my opinion.
Very impressive and very good. I still wish we lived in a world where Endgame was the end of those characters and actors as we knew them, and we maybe waited 2 years and they rebooted it in a different universe. and they did different stuff. I think that would have been the way to do it. Start from somewhere else. Maybe start with the X-Men or whatever. I don't.
And it feels like they're doing that now, right? Because now they're going with the Fantastic Four, X-Men in a different universe. So
well, they're still trying to cling on to like previous stars.
Yes, but the originals are like there. I think at this point, Kevin Feige is going to cut out all the rubbish. That's what it feels like he's doing, at least.
Yeah, the best thing to do would have been to. I mean, I guess they kind of tried with Eternals.
There's a link with Eternals, by the way, in this one. There was the big massive hand in the trailer showcased.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get part of the plotline to that film, though.
No, I don't think so. It was a bomb. Because after Deadpool and Wolverine, Joe, I can't think of Alien Romulus coming out mid-August.
I can't wait for that.
But not much else to look forward to be honest with you. Until post summer, then we get the big ones, right? We get
then Oscar season.
Yeah. With Gladiator II winning Best Picture.
God, can you imagine? Fucking hell. Look, maybe it's awesome.
Maybe it's The Last Duel. Who knows?
I really like The Last Duel.
One could hope. I love The Last Duel.
The Last Duel is fantastic. No one watched that film, and it's a shame.
Bruce doesn't like it, but
shock and horror.
I'm quoting, not exactly. I'm paraphrasing Bruce. He said the 3 points of view taught us nothing new, which I completely disagree with.
I completely disagree with it as well. That's ridiculous. Did Bruce watch the same movie I watched?
But it is what it is. Bruce is Bruce.
Yes.
That's why we love him.
I do like that he has a take and he just stands by it. I respect that a lot.
I respect that as well. But with that, thank you so much, viewers and listeners, for joining us on the podcast. As always, don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this podcast. Leave a comment with your thoughts on all the films we talked about today. With that, Joe, we'll conclude the podcast. Thank you so much, as always. And
good time.
Peace out. See you guys next week on our next episode of the Ad Lib Podcast. Ciao, ciao.
Discussing Lee Isaac Chung's Twisters. Let's go.
Where the fuck?
I know, but apparently it's good.
And I was thinking of this today as I was watching the original Twisters. I was like, who watched this film? And I was like, you know who should get to direct this film?
The guy who did the really emotional drama about a Korean family moving to the United States.
The most impressive CGI film, Minari.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Ciao, ciao, guys.
Have a good one, guys. Have a good one, Andrea.